Hello everybody again to another little tutorial of mine. You remember my last videos I made for you were about some special colors, stand-up colors with special effects and different colors. Now if you make such a special shirt or blouse, why should not make some real nice sleeve cufflinks with it? For a change, don't do a normal buttonhole with a normal button in your sleeve. Why don't you decide on making some nice cufflinks and put cufflinks in as well? So this is exactly what I will show to you in this little tutorial, how you can make this sleeve to fit perfectly together with your shirt or your blouse. It is not difficult. I show you how to do the pattern, how you can change it around in the colors. Of course you can also make it just in one color if you wish, but definitely do something a little bit elegant with a real cuffling inside to give your clothes very, very special, nice look. I think you would like it, your friend would like it, whoever you make it for is gonna have something special that not everybody is wearing. So why don't you watch this video? And I hope you enjoy it.
So I believe you do have a normal pattern for a blouse or for a shirt where you have the sleeve as one piece without any dividing seams. Otherwise you have to consider that, of course. Here you can see I cut my sleeve already exactly, and I marked where I would like to lay some bleaches on the bottom edge, in which always gives the sleeve a very special look again. So you can always add some in case if you don't have any by making the sleeve on the bottom a little bit wider. And you probably have a very normal pattern for a cuff like this one that I show you here, which has a 6 centimeter width after it's folded over and stitched on. But this one we forget totally at this particular moment, as we're going to draw a complete new cuff for this coming up cuff that we're going to do. Show you this again to you. There is all my marks for my little pleaches that I will put on the bottom when we're sewing this one on later. And my cut here for the placket is 10 centimeters long, but my little piece of material for the placket I cut a little bit longer, which means 20 I need if my cut is 10, but I cut it about 21. I rather cut it off later a little bit shorter, but that's always a better way than in case if you run too short on it, because it always depends on how high you stitch into your vent in on this particular job. I cut mine 5 centimeters wide, but yours could be smaller. It doesn't have to be 5 centimeters wide. Then I will iron it in half, and one of the edges I will iron over by 1 centimeter. So that's so far. You got to completely prepare your sleeve for this next job. And now we start drawing the cuff, how we want to make it. So just start by doing a right angle line away from the edges, because later on we will add the 1 centimeter seam allowance that you will need. So stay away if you mark this now, because we first of all only mark the exact size as it will be. So my cuff will have a finished length or width, if you like to say, of 26 centimeters. And you saw I drew the right angle right there, and now I mark it on 26 centimeters for me. Exactly the same I will have to do at the end of my point of my 26 centimeters, and I decide I wanted 6 centimeters the finished width. So exactly from that mark on I measure 6 centimeters up, make a mark, make a dot, and connect those 2 points. The same, of course, I have to do on the other side, 6 centimeter mark there, and I connect again those 2 points. And that is already then exactly the size of my finished cuff that I will have. So how do I have to continue? I want to go in on the edge. Let me take my other tape measure. That's more exact. I will measure now 1.5 centimeters from that point inwards. I'm lying this over because like this I can see the millimeters better on my tape. And the same on this, 1.5 centimeters. I do make a little mark there for the next job. Now in a right angle, in straddled lines, or you can also mark it through, it doesn't matter, or you can do it like me. And again on 6 centimeters, I make another mark. In a right angle, again upwards, as you see it here, I mark it, and I mark it by 6 centimeters height. Because also that is the fold over later on, and I want the same width there. Of course, you can make this smaller. This doesn't have to be that the way I'm showing it to you. Now, because I don't want this to go straight up, I want the buttonhole or the cuffling that I will put in nicely to show out. For that reason, I'm now marking 2 centimeters again inwards on this part that will be later on folded upwards on the sleeve. And now you connect those two with each other. Now again you have a choice. Do you want all the lines straight, or would you like to have a little curve right here on that top end? I want to slightly curve it because it looks, to my opinion, very smooth and more elegant. So I mark myself the middle and I mark 1 centimeter down. And now I draw with my special tailor's ruler a nice round. I'm checking which one fits the best. So I think that looks quite good. So I mark it from my 2 points. And there you see, that is exactly already how I want this cuff to be. So all I have to do now is get my paper scissors. And that's something you should always think of. Never use your proper tailoring scissors for cutting material. And maybe you've seen me doing this before. Sometimes you think, the scissors don't cut so well anymore. Then take them sometimes in between your fingers. Watch out that you don't cut yourself. And like you've just seen this, give it with the grease that you always have a little bit on your skin, because the skin always produces grease, luckily. Otherwise we would be drying out terribly. Slide over with your fingers and then cut again with them. You will not believe the difference, how good this is. So with other words, I'm taking my paper scissors and I cut 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around. If you're not firm with seeing this 1 centimeter so well, then it doesn't matter, then just draw all the way around your 1 centimeter seam and then cut it out. Of course, this you got to do as you need it for yourself. And that is already my pattern for my cuffs. And I will have to cut this piece now for my pair of sleeves 4 times. Not like with your other cufflinks, which don't have a fold over. You got 1 piece, which means you cut that one twice. But this one we got to cut 4 times right now.
So we mentioned before that you did cut the sleeve for your shirt or your blouse already. As well, we cut way in the beginning the cleaning off the little plackets for the side for the sleeve, which now I ironed in half, and on one of the sides I ironed another centimeter over. As I'm doing this video in German and in English, I will show you at the end, or in the beginning then when I got them finished, the 2 different ways of how you can change the colors around. But you definitely will need 4 pieces on this particular cuffling for your shirt. You can do them all the same color, or you can choose it the way I did it in the 2 colors. And therefore you must then decide which one is supposed to be the right showing side and which part's supposed to come folded over. I show you both possibilities. I'm only going to stitch one, but at the end I show you both possibilities how the look will be. and that's why on this one I got the blue, my blue material already ironed over 1 centimeter, and for the other one I got this white and blue material ironed over 1 centimeter for later. But that is all you need to do for the preparation, and those little plackets for the sleeve, you do not need to put any interfacing on, but on those you definitely need an interfacing on each part. Otherwise it will not fold very nice. Unless you have a very stiff, as an example, you would have a jeans material which is quite hard, then you only need to put a little bit of lining, interfacing on one of the pieces on. But now we can go to the sewing machine and start the job. To do the cuffling for the sleeve, we first of all have to finish and clean off the little vent, the little slut we got in the sleeve. Usually I'm stitching my parts to clean it off onto the left side on. Not so on this one. I first put this piece of material that was cut 5 centimeters wide, as I mentioned before, then ironed in half and another edge over. I put this one down so the proper side is facing me, and the ironed over edge is lying to my left. So the proper side is facing me. Now I take my sleeve, and again I put the vent cut onto here so the proper side is facing me. That means left side down of the material. And I start stitching on the bottom my 1 centimeter seam that I allowed myself. Now I only do the first, let's say, 4 centimeters approximately by 1 centimeter, because now I have to start to let this material to my cutout that I got here. I gotta let it run away, so that when I come up here with my 1 centimeter seam, that I will get exactly into that corner in where I got the cut. So I hope you can see this. Here is my material, how it runs away, and that's where I gotta end my sewing right now. 1 centimeter. I'm looking exactly where is my little cut in, and there I stop. I leave the needle stuck in, and carefully I turn it over, or better, I lie it towards the back. And you can see again, this starts running towards my edge here, and I just do my 1 centimeter. Always you gotta look that you have your 1 centimeter from the bottom lying edge. And there you finished. I mentioned maybe earlier on that I always cut those a little bit longer, because that is easier to cut them off later, because otherwise if you get too short you got to cut the part new. That wouldn't be good. So first of all, you can look on this side now. Is the corner correctly as you want it? Hopefully you got no pleaches stitched into there. Now you turn it over. Now you see you got the proper side facing you, the right side facing you, and you turn your ironed over edge onto your seam that you got there. And make sure when you stitch it down now that the seam will be covered. Not just one stitch across down there, that's the part I will cut off later. And more or less you can now put this line all the way straight down as it wants to lie automatically there. So you just pull on there. And that vent is actually finished already. But what I suggest you do, as you can see, that's how it is finished, but it is nicer for the corner if you just do a little stitching across here, because then it will never fold towards the outside, which wouldn't be nice. So just do like a little stitching across there, and you see it will stay there perfectly when the sleeve is finished later on. It will never come out then. Alright, now what we can also do on this sleeve right away, as I mentioned that I have these 2 folds in. These folds always go towards the vent that you got there, and I stitch them on now. Then it makes it easier for me later on to stitch the cuffling on. Alright, there we go for that. Now you take your actual cuffling, put it the correct way on top of each other, edge by edge. Here's your ironed over edge, and you leave it ironed over, or you leave it lying over like that as it wants, and you do your 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around. Now if you're not too sure about your 1 centimeter, of course you have the possibility of drawing the line first exactly how you want to stitch this. This is all up to you, depending on how well you're already with your sewing going on. There across, this I also leave down here like that. And that's it. Now comes the importance. You got to cut this corner. You got to cut exactly into this corner where you stitched the next one. Now if you did quite a big curve, then you should put a couple of little cuts into here. It will lie much better than when you're finished with it. Again, here we got to cut in and there. And that's it for the first preparation. You're going to turn this inside out now. So when this is turned over like that, you can check again to make sure that you got even lengths on both sides, because you definitely do not want this to be a different lengths on every side. In the moment you've done your sleeve seam all the way, you can continue with doing your cuffling. First of all, stitch those little parts from your vent over so they're underneath and flat, and cut the leftover off. Oops. Do the same with the other side, where you probably have your little pleaches lying. Yeah. Now you turn your sleeve onto the right side. Look in the inside of the sleeve. Take your cuffling and put it onto the left side, that side that's not been ironed over on, and start exactly in that corner where your last stitch is there. Put it edge on edge there, and you start sewing exactly where that last stitch is. Exactly in the corner. You can first of all, of course, check the length of your cuffling and your sleeve first. I show you what I mean. I'm stitching a couple of centimeters first, and now I put this sleeve in the inside, the cuffling in the inside of the sleeve. I'm looking to this end, and I'm checking that that length that I'm going to be, let me put that out of the way so you see it better. There we go. That length is the same. That is, of course, very important. Otherwise, you could just either open these pleaches up a little bit or lay them deeper to get the right length. But you could see on mine, it is a perfect length. So I'm stitching this on to the centimeter that I got. This seam that you have from the sleeve, you should be also always lying towards the back of the sleeve, and usually that is the underneath part of the sleeve here, the shorter bit, so you lying it towards that smaller piece there. And you look again for the ending, because that's got to fit exactly there in the corner, and so you again look for that corner and finish stitching exactly in that corner. Exactly there where your last stitch is, that's where you got to finish. They practically meet there. In the moment you've done that, you again turn your sleeve inside out, or better outside in, and we're stitching now the cuffling on, and I'm starting just here where actually the cuffling is finished on one end, but I don't start on that corner because usually when you would come around this likes to push over and then it's a bit difficult to sew. So take it this way and start anywhere in this. You can start at any point there where you want, as long as you're looking already here that it's in the correct position. Important is that your underneath seam is covered and is not showing out. And I'm not stitching back and forth because later on when I come around I just go a couple of stitches over that. So I go exactly to that corner and continue ribbling the edge nicely out. I have not ironed this cuffling because I've noticed when I turned it over, when I turned it around, that the material actually lies perfectly anyway. It wants to fall exactly in the position where I like it, so why should I go and iron it? I just go along the edge and stitch along the edge. And now you can see this roundabout here. It really lies nicely because I did this couple of cuts in, and that makes it so perfect lying flat. If you wouldn't have done that, it would be pulling a little bit. And that's definitely something you don't want on a nice cuffling. So, we're almost down the button. And when I get to this corner, before I continue, I again look here to get all of this properly pushed in, and again my seam covering. I mean, on this one it's not so visible because the thread is white, but if I would have the dark blue thread in there now, this would look terrible if it would be looking out. So you see, nicely covered there. They go all the way down, turn around, and now hold this button strong towards you, stiff, so this tab will not push towards you. But if you have the feeling it wants to push, then just take any kind of pattern that you got, straight one possible, lie it under the foot exactly against your needle, don't stitch over it, and you got to pull it out again later and stitch along, and you will see it's perfect. Now you can look already towards the end and see that it's all going to be nice and straight and flat without any funny sticks or anywhere happening. And you go a couple of stitches over and your cuffling is already practically finished. Left side, right side, the same. Now you got one more possibility before you now turn it over. You can stitch here once through, because then the cuffling lies a little bit better. But don't do it exactly on the edge, because then it looks a bit stiff, as if it's been pressed down. It looks nicer when it got a slight roll, and therefore start exactly in that corner. Only got about 2 stitches back and forth. Now take maybe a pattern. I said this, my cuffling width is 6 centimeters. This pattern I got here is 5.5, which means just a little bit smaller. And you can see this when I put it on the bottom edge here, that I'm smaller. So what I do is I lie this here on the edge, and I slightly in a curve go down there to that 5.5, because that means my stitching here is not on this edge, which makes it fall much better. Also here at the end, you see I'm 0.5 centimeter away. That means now here just do a slight curve to go into that corner to finish there. You can see it's not straight, it's curved, but therefore now when I turn it around and look at my finished cuffling, which is supposed to be exactly from corner to corner there, it rolls, it still rolls here nicely, but it lies perfectly. So what I do now is I put my buttonholes in, and at the end I will also just slightly, on about 1 or maximum 1.5 centimeter, I will stitch this cuffling down, because that makes it sure that it will not fall down at any time or for any meaning or for any reason. Alright, let me do the buttonholes and I'll show you the result in a moment. Meanwhile, I've just put the buttonholes in and I cut them open, and I've told you I would like to stitch these corners down so they will never fall down. So check how high you want your edges to go. I had it planned so they will just go there to the top, but you could also let them slightly roll down lower. That means that part would go a bit wider, but this part would be lower. That again you can decide there at the end how you wish it to do, or to have it. So I'm putting about 1 centimeter the stitches on there to hold it up in that position. Check again how high are you on that side, because you want to be exactly on the same height on that side. So I do exactly the same over here, approximately 1 or maximum 1.5 centimeters I'm stitching up here. So this is your under part of the sleeve, or your back part you could call it. Tidy it off, cut all the little threads off, and if you got your cufflinks ready, then try this out what it looks like right away. This is your little pleaches on the top of the sleeve. Put the cuffling in and look how gorgeous this sleeve will look now for you. Put it that way, however it's meant to be. Let me turn it around. I think that's the best way to have that particular cuffling in this lovely shirt put in. Now this is something you should maybe do for your husband, for your boyfriend, for your friend, or think of somebody who really deserves to get a special shirt like that. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video again. Please give me some thumbs up, and I'm looking forward to your comments. Goodbye for now, until next time. Tschüss.